This is the realest show out.
You did the opposite of what I think most people do. Sometimes it can be kind of scary to just put yourself out there.
That's real. That's raw. That's exactly what we're looking for. We look forward to connecting with you guys on all of our social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications for the next Gut Check Uncut. All right, guys. So top special here, co-host of Gut Check Uncut. We got Brandon Biscuit next.
What's up?
Man, this next guest is just powerful. I mean, the guy is the #1 wholesaler and mobile home investor in the world right now. He's got $22.5 million in real estate assets. He's the author of The Source of the Deal, and that book was powerful, by the way.
Dude,
it's really cool listening to the story and how he grew up. He's a Louisiana native. And he's been on stages and he's worked with people. He's been on with Grant Cardone. I mean, some powerful people about real estate investing. But most importantly, he's just a cool fucking guy.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah.
Don't
if you follow him on social or anything like that, you know you're going to hear about real estate and you're going to hear about just general life shit too. That's why I love him. That's why he was a perfect guest for this podcast, because we like to keep it real, keep it raw, give people exactly what's on our minds, whether they fucking like it or they don't.
Well, and you know, the funny thing is that, you know, when I was talking to Rob, my brother who's done business with Chris for a while, you know, as some of you may or may not know, my brother and I are two completely different individuals, and he's got all the brains, I have the mouth, is what I like to say. But, you know, Chris spoke highly to him. My brother could not speak more highly of Chris, and that's why we just kind of knew that this was the right fit for our show, because he's way more than just a real estate wholesaler and an expert in his field. So
100%.
That being said, let's get this party started. Let's bring on Chris Rood, and let's rock, brother. Chris, how you doing, man? Doing all right?
Welcome, bro.
Man, I'm doing great. I appreciate that introduction. I don't know if I'm the #1 mobile home park investor in the world, but if you want to say it, hey, I'll take it.
If you believe it in your mind, it's true, brother.
That's what we say. We speak things into existence, Chris. So let us blow
there we
you
go.
up. That's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. I think the people listening that will be watching on our YouTube channel, they just want to know a little bit about Chris Rood. I mean, you've got all these amazing accomplishments in your life and success stories, but, man, there's way more to Chris Rood than I think people actually know, your story and how you came up. So tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
Yeah, first of all, I'm a weirdo, right? I'm not your average guy. I don't hang out. I don't fucking chill. I don't smoke weed. I don't do things, I don't do things that are of the normal of what most people do. And I think that it's good, bad, ugly. All I can tell you is that I've always been an outlier. I've always been somebody that at a young age, I knew I was weird. I knew I was different. You know, I was always doing shit nobody else was doing. Was labeled ADD, ADHD, all that horse shit that they labeled with these kids, and put on Adderall at like fucking 7, 8 years old, whatever the fuck that is. Well, we know what that is. It's legalized crystal meth that they're pumping these kids because they're just high performance machines. And they don't know what to do with them, and they have a lot of energy, right? So just kind of grew up, kind of put on medication, told I was, I was even told I was slow and dyslexic, all that bullshit. So kind of had a, low self-esteem as a kid, right? Low self-esteem because I thought I was weird. And then, as I grew into myself, I got older. I always had an entrepreneurial knack. In 5th grade, I was hustling baseball cards out of the back of my book sack, selling, basketball and baseball cards into the futures of what I thought they were going to be worth. If it was a rookie card, I say, hey man, this is going to be worth a lot more. And I had a natural ability to sell, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just doing it naturally. And I was selling freaking stuff out of the back of my book sack. Got in some trouble in high school. I dabbled around in drugs and, trying to be cool and did some things I shouldn't have done. Got my girlfriend, wife, now pregnant at the age of 17 at a private Catholic school. And my first day of my senior year of my high school, I had my first son at 18 years old, my first day of school, my senior year. So I didn't have the average bringing up. It was a little bit awkward in a sense that I made a lot of bad mistakes, but I made the best of it, right? So had a baby at a young age, was on drugs, partied, did a lot of stuff I shouldn't have did. By the time I was 22 or 21, I hit rock bottom. Family really had enough of me because I was just partying. My wife was, about to leave me. I had a son, and I had enough. I had enough of because I knew my potential, right? And I think all that time that I was, trying to do drugs and trying to fit in is like I was trying to find myself, right? So I think from there, I told myself that I know that I don't know, because if I knew, I would be doing better in life. And I started from square. 22, I said, hey, I'm starting over. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with life. And I started to deep dive into personal development. I started going to seminars. I started taking classes on, relationships, business, entrepreneurship. And then when I started doing that, I was taking all that focused hyperactivity energy, and I was focused on something that was actually creative and pro survival, not fucking destructive like I had been doing. And I basically did that for a little while, and I was like, man, I'm gonna start my own business. Well, when I was in college, back up. I went through rehab at about 22 years old, checked myself into this rehab clinic, and got clean off of drugs, never touched another drug again. And I redirected all that energy into, personal development and business. And I started a business out of the back of my truck doing on-site oil change and car wash and rock chip repair as a sophomore in college or junior in college. Hyper focused on that. All my friends are partying and doing drugs, doing it. I just cut everybody out of my life. That's all I've hyper focused on. And then literally by the time I was a senior, I was graduating high school, I was making over $100,000 a year by my senior college. Just changing just doing on-site oil change, going around changing people's oil, washing cars and doing glass repair. And I'm 22, 23 years old. I'm like, shit, I'm not going to get a job. All my buddies are graduating, going to get jobs, making 40, 50 grand a year. I'm going to scale this. So looked into trying to find a shop. I found a shop that I rented out. Because I knew I couldn't scale an on-site business. I can't just keep going chasing oil changes and doing that. So I found a motivated seller from somebody that wasn't paying rent, and I found the landlord, and they kicked them out, put me in, doubled my income again by doing that. And I was like, okay, I just doubled my income. How can I get more shops? How can I scale the shop, the quick lube mechanic shop model and car wash model? So I was like, I need to find more shops, but I didn't have capital. Well, this is around 2006, 2007. The real estate market was freaking booming. You guys remember what happened in 07, 08. Sure. So I had built a spec house, like maybe 3-4 years prior to that. I'm about 24 years old, 25 now, or 24. And the Katrina happened, and basically it was a double whammy of the real estate market already being hot. Hurricane Katrina wiped out New Orleans. Everybody moved to Baton Rouge, Atlanta, Lafayette, Louisiana, Houston. So the market was already hot and supply was super low. Demand was already super high. And then we had an influx of hundreds of thousands of people come to this area. So it drove up the price even more than most of the country. And I had enough cognitive awareness to tell myself and my wife, I was like, man, our house is worth like $100,000 more than what we paid for it. We should probably sell it, right? And it's before I had any real estate experience. And I was like, my wife said, yeah, let's do it. My family thought I was crazy, that, said, you stupid for doing that. Put our house on the market. We sold it within 30 days. I made $127,000 at like 25 years old. First experience in real estate. Big, just totally lucked out, right? Total timing. That wasn't by skill or anything else. Total timing. I took that $127,000. I bought another physical location from a motivated seller, from a guy that owns a quick lube and mechanic shop here in my town. That was a super awesome, busy area, 60,000 cars passing on that street a day. I bought that for $860,000. I put down the I got an SBA loan, put down that $127,000, bought that shop, doubled my income again, right? So I was like, man, there's something to this real estate game. So we bought a piece of property on the bayou. If you don't know what a bayou, it's not a river, it's not a stream, it's like a muddy creek channel in South Carolina. And we bought that, and the market was so hot, we turned around and put that for sale. I flipped that, made $40,000, and I took that and I put it down in another location to rent, and I had 3 shops. Then we bought a foreclosure, fixed that up, lived in that for about 18 months, flipped that and bought another shop. So I had 4 locations at one time. Then 2008 hit and kind of put a big dent in my dreams of scaling this oil change business. And on top of that, hurricanes had hit, right, and almost wiped out we had two hurricanes that hit back to back as I was starting the last shop I built, and I dumped $100,000 into it. So that kind of hurt. So, you guys are entrepreneurs. Like you go through these trials and tribulations as you're trying to grow your business, and it freaking hurts. Had a nervous breakdown. Didn't eat for almost like 2 weeks because I had no money. I maxed out my American Expresses. I had payroll, and I was in a real bad place, financial bind, and we had to just really buckle down and dig our way out of it. But so I did that through 2008, 9, came out of it slowly but surely, just cut expenses, cut back on payroll, and finally got myself out of that. Then we started doing really, really good with as 2010, 11 came, the economy stabilized. We did really good. Scaled the Quick Lube business to 4 locations, 33 employees, making a good amount of money. I said, let me get back in the real estate. So I took the money I was making from the Quick Lubes, and I bought about $3 million worth of single family homes, just making tons of offers on MLS. I didn't know about how to go direct to seller at the time. I didn't know about wholesaling. And I bought some, deals at 80, 85 cents on the dollar. Okay deals, nothing great, right? Well, 2014 came, we had another crash. We had the oil and gas crisis. Oil went from $128 a barrel to $28 a barrel. We lost thousands of jobs here in Louisiana, Texas, throughout the South, but it really hurt here in Louisiana. Half of my rentals went empty. Half of my business was dependent on oil and gas fleet accounts from the oil field. They went, started going bankrupt, moving to Texas. All my rentals started going bad. So this is the second, bust I went through. Well, I started losing about $20,000, $30,000 a month. And I was like, I'm going to go bankrupt. There's no way I can sustain this. Well, by the graces of God, my mind's always thinking, real estate got me where I'm at. Let me get back in the real estate. But right before the crash, I was already looking into wholesaling. I was looking, I didn't even know what wholesaling was. I was looking on YouTube and I was typing in real estate investing. I saw this black guy talking about wholesale. I was like, how the fuck you wholesale real estate? I started watching his videos. I could do that. So I started wholesaling a little bit, some of my own properties. And I was making, $2,500 a year, $5,000 there, $15,000 there. I was like, let me hire a mentor. I said, this shit's legit. Hired a mentor. I hired 3 mentors back to back to back. Well, 30 days after my second mentor I hired, I made $47,000 all profit on the sides while still running my shops, like just going out, hustling up, putting out bandit signs, mailing out letters. And I freaking made $47,000 on the side. A light bulb went off in my head. I was like, fuck, I made $47,000 part-time with no employees, no overhead, me just hustling houses. When you know how many fucking oil changes, car washes, brake jobs, and tune-ups?
I would imagine a lot.
A lot. With 33 employees, all the moving parts, the headaches, they fucking shit up, and just dealing with the general public. I was like, I told my managers I had a meeting. I threw my keys. I said, listen, guys, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. Y'all don't call me unless somebody dies. So I went full-time in real estate, started freaking crushing it, man. I was making 60, 70, 80, $100,000 a month wholesaling houses. I was making so much money, I was able to cover all my losses because I was losing about $20,000, $30,000 a month with my shop, between my shops and my rentals, because the economy had just crashed. Well, as as a real estate investor and especially wholesaling, a crashed economy or a spiraling depressed economy is inducive to have an awesome real estate investment company, because you can buy properties. There's tons of motivated sellers. So it was like the perfect timing. People were going into foreclosure. People wanted to sell their house. And I was picking up their houses for 50, 60 cents on the dollar, turn around and sell them to investors for 70, 80 cents on the dollar. So it was a perfect storm. My other businesses were tanking, but this other business helped me to get out of cover my losses. So did that full time. While I was doing so well, my coaches that I had hired asked me to go work in their sales department for their coaching company, because I was like their top student in all their programs. So I started doing sales for them in their coaching programs, started making money with that. And then I realized I was better at this than my own coaches. So I was like, dude, I'm just going to start my own coaching company. So, a year and a half, 2 years goes by, I started my own coaching company, started doing really well with that. Then this is 2016, and 2017 came along, and a guy named Grant Cardone said he's putting on a conference in Miami. And this is GrowthCon 1. This is about 5 years ago.
I was there, brother. I remember.
GrowthCon 1, in Miami. There was only like 2,500 people there. And I was like,
Diplomat, yeah.
That's right. It was at the Diplomat. And I told my wife, I said, listen, baby, we got to get to this GrowthCon thing, because there's a guy named Grant Cardone. He's a coon ass, just like me, from South Louisiana, from Lake Charles. And he wrote a book called The 10X Rule, and he just makes fucking sense, right? And he talks the real shit, and he talks like everybody wants to talk but are afraid to talk. And I think we should go and listen to this guy talk. So it's like, well, Chris, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not into all that. I said, look, this before my wife was drinking the Kool-Aid of, personal development and fucking blowing up the business. I said, look, I tricked her. I said, you go and shop. And I said, but you got to come watch a little bit of the conference. So I tricked her into coming in exchange for buying her a high-end purse, right? One of those.
That sounds like someone else I know.
Yeah. You and my wife know each other, Chris. I don't know what's going on. Real quick, before you move on, I want to jump real quick. But when you were at GrowthCon, where were you sitting? Did you have a table with a pen?
Yeah, I sat at the I actually sat, I was sitting right next to Tim Grover. Tim Grover sat by me the whole time. Michael Jordan's mentor.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken to Tim before, because he's Danelle Delgado's mentor, and Danelle Delgado's done some coaching for me too. So it's funny we were talking that, because I was the guy, if you remember GrowthCon 1, that was all the way in the fucking back. When I tell you didn't have money, I was all the way in the back where you remember how they had all the tables set up, and they had a pen and a piece of paper for all the people that paid $2,500, and then it was VIP and more, like where you guys are sitting. Yep. I was the fucking guy all the way in the back, sitting with just the chairs. There was no table. I was writing a pad on my piece of paper. Like,
bring your own fucking paper.
Talking about feeling worthless. But I tell that story all the time, because that was a catalyst, for the growth in my life as well. I said I wanted to be the guy up front. I wanted to be you sitting next to Tim Grover, and it really helped me scale. But I just want to throw that in there, because a lot of people don't realize that first GrowthCon was powerful. Matter of fact, Victor Antonio is going to be on our show too. Victor's an awesome dude. But having, some of those guys like yourself that were not only there and speaking on the show is pretty cool. When you look at those seats were $1,000 each, and they were so far back. Remember the big the TVs they had?
Yep.
People don't realize 3 TVs back, you couldn't see my head. We were so far. I had to look at the third big screen just to see who was on stage. But
powerful.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but a lot of people don't realize how those things can change people's lives. Because my wife wasn't in the self-help and development world as well, and then when we got into it, she kind of realized the importance of it. So I wanted to put that little point out there. So.
That's awesome, man. No, I mean, look, it's just a matter of getting yourself in the room. It don't matter if you ain't got the money.
Amen.
But we end up buying. And let me back up. When I told my wife about going, she laughed at me, and I said, "Listen, let me call and get us some VIP. Let's see how much the VIP tickets." Well, I ended up calling, and Grant Cardone actually answered. He just selling tickets, and I said, "This Grant?" He said, "Yeah, you buying some tickets?" I said, "Yeah, man, hold on, let me add my wife. You got a second?" So I added my wife to the call, and then I didn't know that Jared Gland's in the background doing a Facebook live streaming Grant talking to me with it all, and then so I have Grant on hold. My wife's got 2 kids where they're grocery shopping, and I'm trying to talk to her 3-way and say, "Baby, we got to buy these tickets." Well, how much are they, Chris? They're only $10,000 a piece. We're going. And I said, "Hold on, I got Grant. Let me merge them." So I merged Grant. She's chasing kids in the grocery store, and I'm selling her $10,000 tickets. And then Grant's like, "Come on, Patty, you can do it. You can come with Chris and have a good time." And I said, "Look, let's just do it." So we end up buying the $10,000 $20,000. I tricked into going by telling her we're gonna get her a purse. She shows up after the first speaker. She got so into it, she forgot to go shopping. She stayed the whole day, and then the second day, so the second day she didn't even leave. We ended up not even buying a purse because she was so blown away. But sat next to Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's mentor, the whole time, like in the very front with the speakers, and I mean it was. I call it was my transformational moment of, it was like going to church, but for business.
Amen. Yeah, man.
That's what it was. It was a spiritual awakening for entrepreneurs to let the beast out and let them be who they really are. Right. Because I think that what it was for me. And then from there, dude, I got hooked up with Grant, the next morning. I went to his office and we had a meeting with him. And I was telling him about wholesaling, and he's like, man, that is fucking super cool. He goes, that my audience needs to hear about this because a lot of them can't do what I'm doing in the apartment space, but they can do what you're doing. And so we worked together we did a couple interviews, and he interviewed a sponsored GrowthCon, and I introduced a lot of his following to wholesaling, and my brand blew up after that. And from there, man, I just, a couple of years later, I got into, and I was crushing the wholesaling business, wholesaling and flipping in the South in about 6 markets in 4 states. And then got into mobile home park investing about 3.5 years ago. And, we've owned 8 parks right now, and we've been crushing it with the mobile home park space. And yeah, the apartment space right now is so overcrowded that there's lackluster returns. And I mean, we're easily putting out, 12 to 16 caps on our deals in great areas that you just can't see it with an apartment complex. And yeah, man, from there, I just been trying to, help as many people as I can. And, as you guys know, what's happened the past year or so, now I've transitioned to trying to awaken people to this craziness going on, this Marxist communist takeover we have of, don't be the best you can be polite, don't say anything rude, question if you're even a male or a female, and masculinity, and, all this horse shit they're pushing down everybody's throats. So I've kind of, I just can't deal with it. So I'm very loud and I'd say obnoxious about, because it's really hurting a lot of people, and they don't even know it, especially the younger crowd. They don't know any better. They're 14, 15 years old, drinking this communist Kool-Aid that's going to destroy. It's literally poison is what it is. If you look at what's going on across the whole world, what Marxism has done to the rest of the world, it's ruined countries. It's ruined people. It's never worked. It's a failed social experiment. And, I'm an anti-communist. I come out and say it like, dude, it's not capitalism. It's not pro be the best you can be. It's anti-personal development. It's anti be the best you can be. And I think it's rat poison.
Yeah, so I wanna dive into that really quick though, because I want to get right into that shit. But there's one thing about your story that kind of jumps out at me that I myself have gone back and forth and struggled with, and it's the fact that you over and over again, it seems like you kept investing in yourself from when you were into drugs as a young kid and all that kind of shit. And then you went to rehab, invested in yourself. You believed in yourself. And then you went out and you got mentors and kind of paid money to do that to kind of help boost your business. And all the money you kept making on these little deals, at least you didn't mention, I didn't go buy a fucking $40,000 car cash and all this other bullshit. You kept investing back in your business. And then all of a sudden you're spending 20 fucking grand at Grant Cardone thing, just to be in a room of people, again, investing in yourself, which is amazing. And I think everyone would agree it's probably the right thing to do. And I've looked into the same exact thing, but people are scared to. But the big problem is right now there's a shit ton of people that are coaches and mentors charging all this money to people that have no idea what they're looking for. And I don't even know the value of a good coach. I don't know how to find a good coach. I see 10 different fucking things on Instagram. Everyone's selling their shit. You'll see a free video on YouTube, and all of a sudden right at the end you go, oh shit, they're trying to sell me $1,000 coaching class or whatever, which I'm not going to say that there aren't valuable coaches out there, because obviously you would be an amazing one, Grant's an amazing one, Todd's an amazing one, but it's really, really hard for the average person that was where you were when you were 22 right now in today's world with social media to go, okay, well, cool, but I got like 50,000 different options. Who's real and who's full of shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a great point. I always talk about that too. I had this conversation with a lot of other people too. And just to add to that, investing in yourself, I dumped $100,000 a pop every time I sponsored GrowthCon, and I sponsored it twice. I dumped, and I was investing in myself. I was investing in my brand, right? And I think the biggest thing that you guys can watch, if you're a 22-year-old cat watching this, is you can't get caught up in the bullshit of buying fucking Ferraris and Lambos and all this shit's cool, but you gotta rehab this asset first. Right? Because this asset right here you have is the most important asset. The more money you put into this thing cash flows forever. It never depreciates. I don't care what the economy does. I don't care if you have a war, a catastrophic economic calamity. If you invest heavily into yourself, it's the only asset that constantly spits out cash flow and never depreciates in value. So for me, you're exactly right. That's really the secret of how I've gotten to where I've gotten. at a young age. Look, most people at 22 or when I made that 25, I made 127,000 to flip. Most people went crazy on probably bought a fucking Ferrari, Lambo. I took every fucking penny I made and invested it back into a business. I bought that, those shops, and I kept buying more shops, and I just kept, and I'm not gonna sit there and bullshit and say it was easy. I almost went bankrupt twice, right? I think every entrepreneur has that story where they get hurt, and you almost have to get hurt. It's learn. Listen, you never lose, you only learn. If something happened to me right now and I fucking lost everything, I could do it so much faster because the experience I've learned from what I've done is fucking priceless, right? And you build up a mental callus as you do this over time, and you become harder and harder mentally, right? All these guys working. Yeah, look, I love to exercise and work out and stuff, and it's great to make the body hard. But dude, you got to strengthen the mind. You got to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. You got to spend money you don't have. You got to invest in personal development, and it's not, you're not going to see an immediate result, but it's delayed gratification. But once you get on the other side of that, dude, you're going to be in such a good position that you're going to be untouchable. And I think for most young kids, is they fall into back to what you were saying, is they watch these gurus on these Facebook lives or these YouTube ads showing how they can buy Ferraris, and they take pictures in front of half naked girls with Lambos. And that's great. And that's cool and stuff. But for me to be able to distinguish between who's real and who's not, is you got to really study them. And then for you guys that are watching, that are trying to pick a mentor, see if all they do is talk about how good life is, right? If for me, I watch real people. Like if you watch and follow me, I talk 50% good shit and I talk 50% bad shit, because the lessons I learned, not in how awesome I am and how good I'm doing. I talk about how, I lost $200,000 last year during the COVID crisis because I invested in a solar panel business. 2 weeks after we opened, we launched, COVID hit, we wiped out our whole business. Me and all my partners each lost a couple $100,000. I talk about my failings as a, entrepreneur with my shops. I almost went bankrupt, with that, right? I talk about how we lose money on some of these flips because the lessons aren't learned in how much money you make. You got to tell the good with the bad. And I think for you young guys that are watching, find a coach that talks about the bad just as much as he talks about the good, and that's your guy. Yeah. Because those guys, all they talk about how awesome they are. They're making millions of dollars and life is fucking great. Dude, life is fucking hard, dude. Let me tell you something. I got 5 kids. I've been married to the same woman for 22 years. It's fucking, you watch too many fucking Hollywood stories which is ran by the communists, and they lie to you, right? They lie to you about life. They lie to you about marriage. They lie to you about children. And what you have to understand is that life's a game. And it has to be hard. Otherwise, it's not a game. And you have to have losses with the wins. Otherwise, it's no longer a game, right? The more you lose, the more you learn. But then you turn that into an actual game, right? Imagine if you played the game, if you played video games, all you do is fucking win and you never lose. It's no longer a game. You have to lose in life. And that's the mindset you have to have going into being an entrepreneur and becoming a high performance person. You have to have the willingness to push and lose, right? Because that's the biggest reason why most entrepreneurs don't start anything is or want to be entrepreneurs is they're scared to lose, right? You got to lose. That's what creates the game.
Well, it's funny, man, because, when I first started getting into personal development and coaching, going back to that story, growth concept in the back, I wanted to be the guy in the front. I've read Relentless and I know a lot about Tim Grover. And again, I saw a lot of powerful people that were up on stage that are now on our show that I have personal relationships with, which, me, I went forward, but I got my nuts kicked in. I mean, like more than once, ego got in the way, thinking I could do everything on my own, thinking that all I got to do is be the best person on the planet and tell people what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear. So when we created Gut Check and we wanted to kind of create this platform where we get a guy like you that's been through all the hard in life, knowing hard is still coming. I mean, life is it's not some fucking fairy tale where once you hit Chris Rood's level, everything's going to be just hunky-dory. You just talked about losing a couple $100,000 last year in solar panels. I mean, the real is in the hard, and one thing, one of my mentors, Danelle Delgado, said, she goes, the hard makes you strong, right? So you couldn't have said it any better. And I think for anybody listening or anybody watching, this type of level of coaching and just hearing there's never failure. You said something earlier. You said, it's never a loss. You're always learning. You have to get hurt, right? You
never learn.
Yeah, and entrepreneurs need to hear that because a lot of people think, oh, well, fuck, I can have the Lamborghini, I can have the hot girls and the good-looking guys, and I can do everything I want to do. What they don't realize and what they don't see is the fucking hard that it took to get there. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not easy. And when you try to scale something on an exponential level to become that Chris Rood or Cardone or any of these big names out there, you realize very quickly that the money you invest, you have to be willing to lose. I mean, I played a lot of poker a lot of years of my life, and I remember thinking to myself, well, fucking Cardone's thing was $1,000. I was like, man, should I spend this money? And I was just like thinking, well, I was just at a poker game the other night, and I put $2,000 in on a fucking flush draw, and I won't spend $1,000 to go for self-development. I'm a fucking idiot. And that's when I bought that ticket instantly. And then, man, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with coaching and mentoring. And I got to tell you, we wouldn't be where we're at in life without it. So,
but that's that instant gratification thing. It's hard. It's easy to do the 2,000 flush draw when you know if you win the pot, it's that much bigger right there. But you know, you guys go to GrowthCon and there's no instant return you see. There's no instant thing. It could take months. It could take years. It may not even come in the form of money. Right. But that's the hard part about it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
What's to add to what you were saying, you know, the people you're looking for are looking for you, right? And when I truly believe the highest quality people on the planet go to masterminds. For one, it costs money. Two, it's hard to get there because you're probably going to criticize a lot of people that go to masterminds and start talking about to that their family or friends, like, why are you doing the get rich quick scam, yada, yada, yada. And what they realize after they go is like, oh my God, my tribe, right? And I think because it's a special quality of a person that'll spend, you know, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to go with another group of people who are trying to have the same hopes and dreams, same intentions, and you find the people you've been looking for. And there's a small percentage of people, I call them high performance people, right? And that's the people that go to masterminds, they're just high performance. You call them ADD, call them, you know, dyslexic, call them, whatever, ADHD, these people, and I've spoke, you know, I went to enough masterminds, and even GrowthCon 1, half the speakers that spoke at GrowthCon 1 were labeled slow, ADD, dyslexic, barely passed high school or quit. You know, Bobby Castro, you know,
I was just thinking Bobby Castro. I swear to God, I was just going to say it. And he was one of my favorite fucking speakers at that event.
Yep. And it's because we've been lied to, right? We've been lied to most of our lives, thinking that you have to go to school. You got to make straight A's to be good at life. That's another communist, you know, misunderstood thing they're trying to push. It's just, there's a lot of bad, false information out there, guys. Like you gotta, I wish there almost needs to be a school for entrepreneurs, because you have people that are good at school, and then you got people that are good at life. Right. I know a lot of people that are good at school that made straight A's their whole life through high school, college, valedictorian, and their freaking life's a wreck, and they're just barely making any money. Dude, it's just, how is that? But all we're told is we got to go to school, we got to make good grades, yada, yada, yada. It's all horseshit.
Well, think about it. I didn't have a I studied personal finance just because numbers is the only fucking thing I'm good at. And I didn't have, it got to junior year of college, and me majoring in finance just to get one class on personal finance. Think about that for a second. No one knows what the fuck. If I had friends doing engineering and all this shit, and they had no idea what a 401k was. Like,
and it's funny, now you're sitting here with me, a guy who barely made it through junior year of high school. So
yeah, but it's crazy, because it just, you would think that it's far. I got a lot to say about the schooling system. I think it's all fucking bullshit. But I can't stand how you can graduate high school and then even college, and if you're not majoring in the right thing, you are going to have no idea how to do your taxes. You're going to have no idea how to fucking look at a mortgage statement. You're going to have no idea how to run your personal finance. You're not going to have any idea on how to do any of that shit. And you wonder why there's a lot of people in this world. The average credit card debt right now is $12,000 per capita. I mean, it's fucking stupid. Anyways.
Yeah, so. But it's misinformation on purpose, right? If you look at what the communist elites do, they want a dumbed down society. They want a stupid, ignorant, deaf, and dumb, right? And that's how you control the masses. And if you can understand that, then you can navigate your way out of this fucking cesspool of a civilization we live in, where we have a lot of misinformation, right? Because if you want to get rich, if you want to make a lot of money, you don't go to school, folks. You don't. You go to masterminds and you hire coaches that are already rich. Your average college professor probably makes about $60,000 to $80,000 a year, teaching you about business and entrepreneurship. who's never done a business or is not even an entrepreneur, right? It makes no sense.
Well, my daughter is 23 years old, and you know, she's a hustler. I mean, she gets out there. Imagine, you know, your kids and you're Chris Rood, their dad. You know, people know Chris Rood. They know what you're capable of. They know about your successes, etc. I've known Chris Rood, but I will tell you this. You know, we're scaling, and we're scaling fast. And we go into an organization, and my daughter's with me. She says, "Daddy, should I go to school?" And I said, absolutely not. I couldn't agree with you more, because unless you're so passionate about something that's the specific thing you want to do in your life. You want to be an optometrist, go to school for that. You know, She went to school for cosmetology or some shit like that. I spent $14,000 in a little 6-month program. 2 days later, she goes, "Daddy, I don't want to be a cosmetologist." I go, "Well, that's the fucking problem, because we could have taken $14,000, reinvested, and then I started teaching her about real life, because I've never had a day of college. I wasn't good in high school, but I was selling vacuum sweepers door to door at 15 years of age, you know, hustling, just and grew up in pool halls my entire life, when my brother Rob was getting educated, right? Now he's the nice combination of an entrepreneur and a hustler together, of a guy that's educated. For me, it was all about hustle. I had my back up against the wall my entire life. So the message to me that we should be telling these kids and really anybody at any age, because it's never too late to become a millionaire, to become an entrepreneur, to really start something new, is that you do need to be in these masterminds. You need to learn from people that have already done it. And to Brandon's point, and to your point, study who you're going to pay that money to. We'll talk off camera another time about some situations when I first spoke in LA, but I couldn't agree more. People need to get educated on who they need to get educated from, in a mastermind, in an environment with a coach, not in a fucking school where somebody's teaching English.
But think about that too, what you just said. You know, you drop $14,000 on class or whatever. Think about all the people that are so fast and willing to go into debt to go to college, which there's great colleges. I can't say that there's not, but how fast they're willing to get a student loan to go into debt to learn, you know, some things in a college. And they may be scared to spend $1,000 on a Grant Cardone or a $10,000 mastermind or something like that.
Biggest scam is college. You know, we have $8 or $1.9 trillion worth of student debt right now that can't be paid off. Tell me how that was a good investment. For years, for the past 40 years, they've pushed college tuition. College is the way to financial freedom. Why do you think that is, right? Because the big banks were in collusion with the major colleges to push that, to get a bunch of debt and make a whole lot of money off the ignorance of the students. And they educated all of our parents and grandparents to put us all through schools. But yet you get these, I know cats that have doctor's degrees and business and management, and they make like $150,000 a year. And, you know, and I mean, they spent like $200,000 in college, $100,000 at college, and shit, you could have spent $5-10,000 and went to a couple masterminds and become a millionaire.
And to that point, though, these guys are spending, like, I mean, if you have a fucking doctorate degree, you definitely spend a couple $100,000. Masters, listen, we can get into all that shit, but the money they spend, which I think people forget, right? Like you said, is on loan, right? So they're getting loans to go to college. So what happens? Somebody comes out and they make $100,000 a year because they have a degree, or they become a doctor and they're making $3. I mean, some of these doctors spend $500,000. It takes them fucking 10 years to pay that debt off. So what people don't realize is that they go in debt for $200,000. They go out and make $100,000 a year. I would say $20,000 of that money is getting paid off there. They're netting $80,000 and they're paying interest back to the fucking college loans because it's a business. It's not there to make you financially free. It's there to make other people financially free.
That's right.
Be real. Yeah.
That's right.
So Chris, let me ask you a interesting question. Chris Rood runs for fucking president of the United States of America, and you have one topic or one thing to base your entire running on. What is that one thing? What would it be?
Well, with that said, if I wasn't assassinated in the first week,
we'll be your bodyguards. We're already going for you. So.
it would be the restoration and regeneration of personal development in human being itself, not in a race, not in a culture, but the human fucking being. All this critical race theory shit, all this, you know, whites hate blacks, blacks hate Mexicans, Mexican hates whites, like all this horse shit they're pushing down everybody's throat is not true, for one. Secondly, I think the biggest thing I would push is personal development, is making that human being from the start, from a child, when they're in elementary school, teaching them about mind, body, spirit. The three component parts of who you really fucking are. You have a body, you have a mind you think with, and you're a spiritual being. And if you work on all three, you bang out all three of those corners at an early age, they'll be so dialed in as a human being that it will naturally raise the cultural tone level of all of society. And you probably won't have as much, cultural degradation as far as poor people overeating, people being fat, people being the medical problems we have with diabetes, everything. It's because if you look at people 40 or let's say back in the 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s, everybody was skinny. You ever seen the videos? There's no fat people and everybody dressed up really nice. Everybody, every race, everybody's in top hats and fucking suits and ties. Nobody's overweight. What does that tell you? Something has happened, right? The world at large is not getting better. We're getting worse. We're fat. We're stupid. We don't even know what gender we are. And it's all by design. It's because they want us dumbed down and because they want to better control us. Right. So for the first thing I would do is I would make it mandatory at an early age, because you got to get them when they're young. The younger they are, the easier it is to pre-program, and you program them to be the best human being they can be by educating them with the right information, the right knowledge, and the right skill sets. Not all these fucking college degree shit that they pushing out. Dude, what happened to all the plumbers, electricians, carpenters, AC? Dude, I know guys that have AC companies that are worth millions that didn't even barely pass high school, right? Right. So I think I go back to the basic fundamentals. Get back to the basic fundamentals of teaching people how to be the best human being they can be, and then they can scale the rest of their life from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like respect, and we're not just talking about business skills here, because I know where you're going. I mean, when I was growing up, a lot of people, when I come and say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, my dad was in the military, but he was long out of that. My dad had me at a very late age. And, when my dad passed away, he said, man, you got to tell your story, do your things, but most importantly, respect people. You know what I mean? Put the people first. And it's funny how that, to your point, it's falling short in I guess the minimalistic way to say it is that people out there now, they're not holding the doors open for the elderly. They're quick to say fuck you, the road rage, all this bullshit. People are they're becoming angry, and it is due to lack of education. I personally believe on a personal development platform, because listen, as a father, as a coach, as an entrepreneur that's gotten my shit kicked in more than once, it's hard for me to sit there and put my daughter Avery on a path of maximum success when daddy's telling her how, right? And I was going to ask your opinion on this, because I have Brandon a lot of times sit with my daughter, because you and I both know, Chris, we go to talk to our kids about something, it's fucking dad, right? Dad. And that's okay. They're going to respect us and listen to us. My daughter's my best friend. She definitely does. But that being said, I think the value in this is connecting her with a like-minded individual or person that's actually going to give them that success roadmap that isn't mom or dad. So what is your opinion on, if you have kids out there, what's your guidance that you would tell people? If you have kids out there, do you sit there? I know we're going to do some sort of personal development. How important is it to get them connected with someone else outside the family that gets an unbiased opinion?
So if you follow me enough, I bring all my kids and wife with me everywhere I go. All these speaking engagements I go to. I just spoke in Houston at a big real estate conference. I brought my sons with me. I think you have to be a shining example, right? And if you feel like you're not that shining example, then you got to get them drinking the Kool-Aid. My kids have been watching, people like Grant Cardone and Ed Milet, all these guys that are just really the top of their game. And at a young age, if that's all you put them around, that's all they know, right? So all my kids are homeschooled. All my kids are taught, about working out, exercising, fasting, eating the right foods. I mean, like all my kids are taught about, business if they want to, because I'm going to be honest with you, I have 5 children. Are they all going to be entrepreneurs? No. Right. Entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. It's not for everybody. It's hard. Like you need high performance employees too, right? You need people that are that are going to get shit done, that are not maybe have the wherewithal of taking risks, because what we do is take a lot of risks as entrepreneurs, and that's heavy on the mind and heavy on the heart. And it takes a special person to want to deal with that. And it's not for everybody. So I don't push just because I'm a hardcore entrepreneur does not mean I'm gonna push that on my kids. My older son has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. Like, he just wants to do what he wants to do, and I'm okay with that. But I do, we do push them to be the best they can be through personal development, right? I mean, it's a cornerstone for us. And when I say personal development, like what does that mean, Chris? It's basically just being the best you could be through the right information, mind, body, spirit, right, and raising your awareness about what's really going on in life, right?
Yeah,
raising
your to be in personal development. I mean, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to learn and master the art of personal finance, right? Like, your son could go do anything he wants to do, but I know dad's going to step in through personal development, whether it be youth or somebody else. So that's fine. Make your money over here, but here's a way to be an expert in how to actually utilize the funds you're earning from whatever your passion is, whether it's entrepreneurship, whatever it is that you want to do, to make sure that he's financially stable for the rest of his life. I know that that's what you mean when you mean personal development. So I want people to understand that you don't have to be an entrepreneur. Like you said, you can do whatever you want, but personal development is multifaceted. I mean, there's several things that you can teach your kids. They don't have to be a Chris Rood and hardcore and a guy out there wholesaling properties and doing that. They can do whatever they want as long as they use the tools properly to succeed.
Yeah, it's all about living up to your potential, right? And that's what personal development does, is it pulls back the core of who you are, and it sharpens the knife. Right now, we all come in this world as a butter knife, right? We can barely cut. Personal development just makes you sharper, right? It makes you cut harder, and you get more. You're a better version of yourself, and you get more done, do more, be more, have more, right? And that's I just want to wake up, on my death or dying on my deathbed and know, hey, dude, I gave it all I had. I gave all the great information to my kids. I'm gonna leave a legacy. Like, you don't have to be a fucking legend in the world. Be a fucking legend to your family, right? Leave a legacy to your family. Like, not everybody's gonna be a fucking, Michael Jordan or a Grant Cardone or a fucking Tiger Woods, but you can be a fucking legend to your family, right? 100 years from now, 200 years from now, they're gonna remember who Chris Rood was. My great grandkids are gonna know who their great granddaddy was.
Love that, bro. I mean, trust me when I tell you, we'll be tying you into this. You don't have to be a legend to the world, but be a legend to your family. That's a powerful goal, brother.
Yeah, because a lot of people just want the flashy shit and the notoriety, and they want to be the Grant Cardone just to fucking say that they're Grant Cardone. But they don't. They're thinking about everyone else, and not kind of thinking of their core people, their family, their close knit people, and just focusing on what is their perception and what do they believe in and what do they see me as. So I fucking love that. I got a 4-year-old son, and I only got one kid and one on the way. So I'm soaking it all in from you, old dad.
Did you just find out who the father was of the second?
No, not yet. No. He's damn good looking though, so shit can't be me. I can tell you that.
How do you live forever, right? That's how you live forever. You live through your kids as a legend and having a legacy. Like, I want to live forever, and that's how you live forever. You get talked about 100 years from now at a dinner table by your great grandkids. That's how you fucking live forever.
Yeah.
Well, I just added that to the quote, brother. So I'm going to be quoting you specifically there, because that's some powerful shit. Listen, man, I wish we could talk for hours and hours. First and foremost, dude, I didn't know you like my brother did, and my brother has I would say gracefully spoke so highly of you for a long time, and he's always said, man, Chris is just as real as it gets, down to earth, and he's a no bullshit type of guy. I can't thank you enough for being on. You didn't have to do this, man. I mean, you didn't, and you said yes. And a lot of the crazy I was telling Brandon is that, I've had the luxury of being around some pretty powerful people over the past couple of years through my ascent in speaking and our entrepreneurship, and to watch the kind of, I would say, how some people don't waste time. They instantly say yes, because it's not always about the money or the paycheck. It's just truly about impacting lives. And you said this earlier, you want to impact as many lives as you can. And you say be a legend to your family, but Chris, I without a doubt know your name's going to go way farther than that. And I don't blow smoke up anybody's fucking ass, but you offer so much. And speaking of offer, I know that you have a wholesale course on your site at chrisrood.com, CHRISROOD.com.
Right.
Dude, it's so cheap. I mean, I went out there. I was like, holy shit. It's $500 for this course. And I got to tell you something. people would be a fucking idiot not to buy that course. Not only because of who you are and the knowledge that you have, but I got to tell you something, man. I know 10 people right now that I messaged before I got here that are going to buy this thing because of just who you got. 240 videos on YouTube right now. Every one of them have massive value, and it's just you being you. So I thank you for that, man. Where else can they find you, by the way? I mean, on social media and stuff.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a wholesale course, but it's not really. I mean, I've been developing that course for 6 years now, 7 years, and it's how to be a professional real estate investor. It's wholesaling, flipping, wholesaling, short-term vacation rentals, a lot of personal development. The first third of the course is all personal development. Look, I'm not a guru, right? I'm a doer. I don't make a full-time living off of coaching. Yeah, it's a little side hustle I do. I'm a full-time real estate investor, right? So we teach that. I have a course on mobile home park investing. You can follow me. I do at least 2 live videos a week, just giving value on not just like real estate or entrepreneurship, but me and my wife talk about marriage. I'm not one dimensional, right? Like I try to talk about life, right? Who gives a fuck if you make $100 million a year, if your fucking personal life and your family life's a wreck? Who gives a shit? You got to be dynamic as an individual. You need to have it on the right page, your wife on the right page, hanging around the right people, your health. And we talk about a lot of different things. So if you want to follow me at Chris Rood Entrepreneur, my Facebook page, we do lives every week. Then we have my personal page, Chris Rood, press the follow button because I'm maxed out on friends. And then Instagram is Real Estate Rood, constantly doing content there, stories. I do masterminds at my beach house in Destin, Florida, about 2 to 3 times a year. I have a mastermind June 11th and 12th at my house here on mobile home park investing. So I do a lot of different, and I do a lot of these masterminds too, because I'm looking for people like you and me, right? I don't have any friends, guys. I don't hang out with people. I don't chill. I don't need friends. I don't have low self-esteem. I don't get together, people drink beer and stroke each other's ego. I'm looking for allies, right? I'm a big advocate of, I want allies. Friends will give you hangovers. Allies will help you make more money. And I want to be your ally.
I love that. I love that. So what, real quick, just before we let you go, just out of sheer curiosity, I was a fan of yours before ever, talking about Gut Check or anything like that. What's kind of next for Chris Rood? Is there kind of any big goals you have, big, from a business standpoint or otherwise, what's kind of that 5-year look like for you? Any big things out there?
Yeah, we just started a fund, a mobile home park fund. We've already raised $1 million. We started it 2 weeks ago, raised $1 million. I'm going to that fund build when it hits $5 million. I'm going to buy mobile home parks all over the country.
That's awesome, man.
Wow, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And just help people. At the end of the day, it's all, my whole brand is skill up, right? I mean, it's all about skill, and just helping people live an intentional, purposeful life, right? And just be very intentional about what you want, get around the right people. And the sad thing is most of those people are not going to be in your family. They're not going to be people you went to high school with or college. They're going to be people that you pay to get into rooms that are uncomfortable to be around. And that's the hack. The beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is that I've cheated my whole life and I couldn't cheat in high school. You get to cheat as a business owner by stealing other people's knowingness, by paying them off. Now,
love it.
College can't do that, but it's the biggest life hack anybody can. If you take anything from this podcast, cheat, go to masterminds, steal people's knowingness, and scale and your business and skill up.
Dude, that's awesome.
Love it.
I got to tell you, man, I know for some of you are just listening and some of you are going to be watching on YouTube, but we do this every time.
Yeah.
And it's
all fire.
We literally have you can't see it, but there's 3 fucking questions because we like going off the cuff. And there's obviously a little bit of background of Chris, but the rest of this is wide open. I mean, for those of you that are listening, I have taken tons of notes. And what's important for me to understand, you should cheat. I feel like we just cheated. I'm
stealing half of this shit, putting it on social media.
By you being on the show, Chris. And listen, again, bro, I know we don't know each other, but anybody that knows me knows that I speak the way it is. I'm kind of like you. I don't give a shit if you like me or not. Brandon's identical. That's why he's my brother. At the end of the day, this was powerful, and people need to hear more of this. This is what Gut Check is all about, is guys like you speaking real, like you said, leaving that intentional and personal life and working on self-help and development, stuff like that, making yourself better. But don't drink the Kool-Aid of the people that are fucking other people out there. And that's one of the big things that actually spawned Gut Check for me. I want to call out all the fucking assholes that are robbing people, charging them hundreds of thousands of dollars, not giving good information. I mean, your course is $500. You could probably sell it for $50,000, but it shows how intentional you are in wanting to help people. And I cannot thank you enough for doing what you're doing and impacting the world, brother. So
Dude, I love it, man. I appreciate your time and all your words. I love learning from people that have fucked up along the way and have gotten to be successful. And rarely do we talk to people who are very successful that have not fucked up along the way. So I appreciate your words of inspiration and kind of keeping it real with us. Talk about some other shit aside from real estate. I'm sure you love, you talk about that plenty. So we wanted to get into some other shit with you. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and talking with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys for having me on and having the courage to have a podcast like this and talking about real shit. So I appreciate that.
Thanks,
Chris. Appreciate you.
Anything you ever need for us, brother, you got allies for life, man. So we appreciate you very much, dude.
100%. Thanks, Chris. Later, brother.
Talk to you, man.
So we told you in the beginning that Chris Rood is the fucking man, and that shit was fire.
Dude, I'm tingly. Like,
Yeah.
it's the first time a guy has made me tingly. Is that a little weird or no? I don't know.
That's definitely not the first time, I can tell you that.
That was what we were wasted. I don't know. We were on an island someplace. Nobody was around.
Yeah.
We'll talk
If you're drunk, it
about
doesn't count.
time. That's it.
Yeah.
Dude, it was insane. I mean, the knowledge from this guy, and you could see the pure passion coming out. It's like it spews out of his pores when he speaks, because it's like when this guy speaks, you listen. There's no questions asked. It's not that he's a genius in real estate. It's not that he's a millionaire. It's that he's got 5 kids that he brings with him to every single mastermind and person development thing. I got to tell you, man, Chris, I can't thank you enough. You listeners need to go back, and I know we say it a lot again, but I feel like the information you have to listen to it again.
Yeah, you got to listen to it again. You got to write shit down. You got to, whether it's on your iPhone or some fake ass Android or whatever the hell kind of phone you have. But
there's something else other than iPhone.
Yeah, I think so, supposedly. But dude, it's fire. It's interesting. In talking to multiple people now, there's a similarity with these amazingly successful people, and they always are extremely opinionated. They've got a ton of conviction. They've overcome more obstacles than their wins. And I know that all sounds cliche as shit, but it's like that's the fact of the matter. Is you meet these people and they all have these similarities that they're so strong in kind of their willpower to go over the obstacles that they have, and they know exactly what vision they've got. They know exactly where they're going. When I asked him that question, where you see yourself 5 years from now, he didn't even really have to second guess. He knew exactly what that big thing that he's working on. So, dude, I just love
the question. If you remember, it's crazy when we speak to a guest like Chris Rood, that when we write down questions, they answer the questions before we ask.
100%.
It's every single time.
I haven't even used these.
Chris was talking about, and as you guys heard, he's talking about like going to rehab and changing his life, and how he transferred the energy from a drug addiction into a personal development addiction, right? And it's crazy because he said you have to rehab yourself first. He goes, this thing cash flows forever. He's talking about yourself.
What was like for you, Todd? What was like the number? If you could, one thing that kind of really stood out to you specifically with Chris, what would that be?
Honestly, it was that quote, right? You don't have to be a legend to everybody. You have to be a legend to your family, right? Because it's how you live forever. There are so many people out there right now that they want the glam, and they want the fucking Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, and the Rolexes, and they drive around with all this, I guess you could say, sparkly bullshit in their life. And with Chris, it's not about that. What I took from that is that, you don't have to be some social media fucking king, right? You don't have to have millions and millions of followers to make a ton of money. What you have to do is be fucking real, right? It's about being a legend to his family. This is the guy that I sat back and I knew that my brother had a relationship with him, and I didn't know him until we got on this podcast and learned who he was. My biggest takeaway is realizing you don't need the fucking world to love you. You need to be yourself, okay? Anything's possible. We all have stories. Chris has been through a lot of shit in his life. There's a lot of people listening right now that have been through a lot of bullshit in their life. What was super, super cool about Chris is that he doesn't give a fuck whether you like him or not. Yeah. He doesn't care about anything other than you and your potential, and your story does matter, but he concentrates concentrates on leaving a legacy. I want to leave a legacy for the people I love most, the people that are willing to learn, the people that are willing to listen and relinquish ego and put themselves in a positive place to win.
Dude, 100%. I couldn't agree more. One of the just to give you a different answer, because I agree with everything you just said, is just the focus on self-development. I think is a huge thing. I brought it up in the podcast because it's an issue that I have. Like, you look for mentors and you look for these coachings and masterminds and all this shit. And half of me says, because everyone wants to be a coach these days and everyone wants to be a motivational fucking speaker and all these other things. And, there is value out there to be had that's going to work for people. It obviously has for a lot of different people, but it's really, really hard to get through and skim through all the bullshit, coaches and all this stuff. So just the constant in the story. Right.
You asked the best question. You were like, if you were running for president, what would you do? And it was instantly personal development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I could not agree more. I mean, you definitely win the award for best questions asked on this podcast. I mean, and I know it's a first.
It's the fucking plaid shirt. That's why, dude. It brings my.
On YouTube will realize that you don't have any muscles. Muscles
dude,
are supposed to go up.
You don't even know what a trap is, bro.
Right? A trap. I know.
Christ, dude.
Being your
My
friend
fucking
is a trap.
trapezoidal
I know that's a
muscle.
Drop the mic. Anyways, but guys, listen, we want you on the next Gut Check show. We want you guys to listen. Please subscribe. Tell your friends about us. This is the real, this is the raw, this is the type of guests that we're going to continue to have on this show. But most importantly, we want to give you guys tools to be a better person. We're talking about personal development. We're talking about coaching. We're talking about sales. We've got some a huge array of different people here from all different backgrounds. But all this stuff is for free. All we want you to do is just chime in, tell your friends about us because we want to help the world. Are we making $1 off this?
No.
$1.
It's actually negative dollars,
negative.
I would say.
We're making
because we're spending a lot of money to do this shit just to talk. Oh, hilarious.
I want you guys one day, and I know you're with me on this, B, is that you want to one day say there was information that I got that was real, that was raw, that was authentic from Gut Check that we took to another level to help us scale our lives. That's our goal.
If it affects one person and helps one person, then we've fucking done our job and it's worth the money. So 100%. Who gives a shit? Slide in our DMs.
We thank you again.
Thanks, brother.
His DM. My wife, no sliding into DMs unless
just keep it business related, or just telling me how good I look.
Best wife on the planet. And if somebody tells you how good they look, they're automatically an amazing salesperson. So, guys, we'll see you next time on Gut Check. Wait for the next guest. You're not going to believe who we have on. Again, subscribe below. Follow us on all social media platforms. We love you guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you for staring at Brandon's forehead.
Yep. Drop the outro music. Gut Check. Oh yeah. We did get an outro song, don't we?
No, I think it's already playing.
Oh, good.
If you love this guest as much as we did, please follow them on all their social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification for the next Gut Check Uncut.